existing before. For the first time, today is the first day on the calendar, on a field shaped by history, in a game lined by memory. For Minnesota, they leave winter and 4 losing seasons behind them. Detroit arrives with 4 straight postseason appearances that have seasoned them, yet are now in the past. It's Hughes and Price, Mauer and Cabrera, Dozier and Kinsler. It's a new day, the first of a new year. Come on, give me that. This is the day you've been waiting for, the game you've been dreaming of. There's no mistaking the meaning of opening day.
The Twins won here on opening day in 2001 and again in 2003. And they'll hope to pick up a win here to get the 2015 season started on the right foot. Paul Molitor, of course, finished his playing career as a Twin, and today he begins his managerial career. And he's got his second baseman, Brian Dozier, bringing you today's batting order.
This is Brian Dozier presenting to you guys the 2015 opening day Twins lineup, managed by Hall of Famer Paul Molitor, a.k.a. the Igniter. Leading off today and holding down the shortstop job. You saw him last year, phenomenal season. Third in Rookie of the Year voting last year. Quickest hands in all of baseball, Danny Santana. Batting second base, Brian Dozier. Batting third, you call him Joe Mauer. I call him the stud. Hitting into the 3 spot, playing first base. Batting fourth in right field, this guy doesn't need any introduction to you guys. One of the best Twins player, in my opinion, of all time, Torii Hunter. Batting fifth, holding down the DH spot. You want power? This guy has power from both sides of the plate, right and left. That's why he has the name Kenny's. 2 Kennys, right and left. Kenny's Vargas. Batting sixth, playing third base, a guy that had a phenomenal year last year and looked to repeat that this year. California Cool, Trevor Plouffe. Batting seventh, playing left field. You also want power, especially from the number 7 spot. Oswaldo Arcia, batting in the 7th spot. Batting eighth, one of the better catchers in all of baseball. You saw him in the All-Star game last year. The Hawaiian Punch himself, Kurt Suzuki. And batting ninth, the fastest guy we have on the team, playing center field, the cool man himself, Jordan Schafer. And pitching on opening day for your Twins, you saw him, one of the better pitchers in all of baseball last year. Going to have even a better year this year. Pitching, Phil Hughes. That's your opening day Twins lineup.
Well, thank you, Brian Dozier. And with the exception of Torii Hunter, of course, pretty much the lineup that scored a lot of runs in the second half of the year last year. We'll see how they do against the Tiger opening day starter, David Price.
Well, David Price on the mound, making his 4th career opening day assignment, his first as a Detroit Tiger, coming over from the Rays last year. Those are his numbers between the Rays and the Tigers. And David Price, hard-throwing right-hander, led the American League in innings pitched and strikeouts last year.
Northland Fort defense for the Tigers, and they hope it's a better defensive team than the one a year ago. Cespedes in left, Rajay Davis in center, J.D. Martinez in right. You can see the rest of the largely veteran team that the Tigers send out there in hopes of winning their 5th straight division championship. And with this pitch, the 55th season of Twins baseball is underway. 1-0 to Danny Santana. Saw him in the leadoff spot some last year, but didn't see much of him at short, where he expects to play all year this year. And over for a strike, 1-1.
Yeah, for David Price, basically, he loves that fastball. He will work both sides of the plate. Both C starters here this afternoon, excellent control. So be up there if you're an offensive player and swing the bat. They are not going to walk a lot of batters.
Swing and a miss. Foul tip 1-2.
That's the breaking ball right there. The quick slider by David Price. Also throws in a slow curveball and a changeup. This is almost like a cutter, but great angle down in the strike zone.
1-2 to the Twins leadoff batter. And a foul to the screen. A couple of weeks ago, Brad Ausmus announced that instead of Justin Verlander making the opening day start, as he had for many years here, it would be David Price. And then last week, Verlander came up with a cramp or a strain in his tricep muscle, and he's not even with the team here in Detroit. He's back in Florida. Another 1-2 to Danny Santana. Ripped to the third baseman, Castellanos. Solid stroke for Santana, one away. And that'll bring up Brian Dozier.
Brian, of course, having a very solid year last year. 156 games played, hit .242, scored 112 runs, second most in the American League behind Mike Trout. Twins hoping he can repeat that this year.
Popped up behind first. Cabrera in foul ground. 2 away. And that will bring up Joe Mauer.
For David Price, he's making his 11th career start against the Twins. 5 wins, 3 losses. Very good ERA at 2.55. His 182nd major league start.
Mauer obviously hoping to improve on just about all those numbers, including the number of games played. And Joe had an okay spring and statistically, but felt much better at the plate. The focus for Mauer this year in working with Tom Bernansky is pulling the ball more. And he takes up and away, ball 1. Against a left-hander, Mauer has a challenge. This guy's a pretty tough lefty, but you can see where the Tiger, or we'll see where the Tiger outfield playing him as so many outfields did last year with a harsh shift to the opposite field. Tap to the right side, and Kinsler throws him out. And a 1-2-3 first inning for David Price. League game. He had a very successful inaugural season, winning another division championship, 90 wins, although the Twins kind of threw a scare into the Tigers towards the end. They ended up beating the Royals by just 1 game in the American League Central. Here's the Tiger Menards batting order. Rajay Davis getting the start. Ian Kinsler, Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez. Great numbers against the Twins last year. J.D. Martinez, Yoenis Cespedes, Nick Castellanos, Alex Avila, and Jose Iglesias.
And it'll be Phil Hughes on the mound for the Twins, making his first opening day assignment. He's had pretty good numbers over his career against the Tigers, especially here at Comerica Park. In 7 starts, he's 4-3 but a very good 2.70 ERA. A lot of room out in the outfield. Both these guys basically fly ball pitchers, so some success for Phil Hughes. Hopefully it'll continue here this afternoon.
Rajai Davis, Ian Kinsler, Miguel Cabrera, and ball 1 from Phil Hughes. Davis getting the start in center field instead of Anthony Goes. There's a strike 1-1. Goes expected to play most of the time out in center field. He's a left-handed batter, but Hughes, as good as he was last year, he was tougher against lefties than righties. The reverse splits for Hughes suggests that right-handers stood a better chance than left-handers, so Brad Ausmus looking at that, deciding to go with the right-hand veteran Rajai Davis.
Yeah, Davis, of course, very quick on the bases, a guy you want to keep off. Over 300 stolen bases in his career, his second season with the Tigers.
And a foul tip. 1-2 to Davis.
And Goes coming over from the Toronto Blue Jay organization, a speedster in the outfield.
Great speed, a great arm. We'll see plenty of him over the course of the season. The Tigers hope that he'll do a better job of patrolling the spacious outfield here at Comerica Park. Roller to the right side. Easy play for Dozier. 1 down.
We talk about the nervousness of the players, but also the hitters, the pitchers, everybody. This is a huge day right here. Opening day.
Twins with a new look. There's the Northland Ford defense. Arcia is in right. Now he's in left. Schafer's in center. Hicks is in Rochester. Torii Hunter in right. Infield pretty standard from what we saw last year, with the exception, of course, Santana moving into short. And Suzuki, an all-star catcher. Behind the plate, Torii Hunter patrolling right field for the Twins, not the Tigers this year. Here's Ian Kinsler. And the first hit of the season on the first pitch to Kinsler. A line drive to left and a 1-out base hit for the Tigers second baseman.
You want your 2 guys in a lineup, Davis and Kinsler, to be kind of the table setters, but Kinsler himself has some power. Career 273 hitter. Last year hit 17 home runs. Got a fastball that kind of ran back into that swing of Kinsler, and he lined it into left.
And now Cabrera, who has had great success against Phil Hughes.
16 hits and 31 at bats. That's a lot of success with 5 home runs.
And Hughes gets ahead of him 0-1. This is the part of the lineup that will separate the Tigers from just about everybody else in the American League. Starting, well, I suppose you could start with Kinsler, but it's the 3, 4, 5, and 6 guys in the middle of their lineup. That is just foul wide of the bag at third. A lot of power potential with Cabrera, followed by Martinez, Victor, then J.D. Martinez and Yoenis Cespedes.
When I mentioned Kinsler, too, again, a lot of home runs out of his at bat. So you want to keep the table setters off if you can.
Hughes gets ahead 0-2.
Some concern about Cabrera over the winter because he had surgery on that right ankle, removed some bone spurs that bothered him all of last year.
High fly right field, and Torii Hunter hardly has to move. 2 down. And that will bring up Victor Martinez. The key to the Tigers this year, many of course, but keeping Cabrera and Victor Martinez healthy, because when they're in the lineup together, they will produce runs.
Well, you see, last year they are Major League Baseball leaders in runs batted in. The Angels, of course, and then you Cabrera and Martinez, that duo right there, and then the Dodgers. Now Kemp in San Diego, but Adrian Gonzalez still with the Dodgers.
Martinez with some knee issues that he had to rehab in time to get ready here for opening day. There's strike 1. There was some thought in the beginning of March that neither Cabrera nor Victor Martinez would be ready by opening day, but they both are in the lineup, obviously, and Martinez still not running well, but his bat one of the best switch hitting bats the game has ever seen. That's flared, and Santana retreats to the outfield to make the catch. A 1-out base hit does no damage. Torii Hunter will have his first Twin at bat in his return when we come back. And on Friday, the stunning news that their big free agent signee, Ervin Santana, won't even be able to help the Twins the first half of the year. An 80-game suspension, and the Twins responded saying they support the program or the penalty in place by Major League Baseball. But the earliest Ervin Santana can help the Twins would be in early July.
I think the feeling around spring training when it was announced was disappointment, anger. There were a lot of different words used when that was brought out. So you move on, and it gives opportunity for, say, a Mike Pelfrey now in the rotation to hopefully have a solid year.
Before the game today, Terry Ryan was saying how it really, he hopes, positively impacted two players. Pelfrey into a role he prefers, that is a starting pitcher, but Aaron Thompson had a good spring. And the open roster spot filled by Thompson, who will be the third left-hander out of the bullpen. Torii Hunter got a great ovation when his name was introduced here at Comerica Park. He's got a 1-1 count with David Price.
Well, why would he not? Torii, a couple seasons here, two very solid seasons, and even at 39 years old, last year 142 ball games for the Tigers, hit .286, drove in 83 runs with 17 home runs.
His 17th straight opening day. First with the Twins, 5 years with the Angels, 2 with the Tigers, and now back home with the Twins. And he takes a call, third strike, one away.
And Price, who led the American League in strikeouts with 271 last year, picks up his first.
Join other Twins fans for an early season special ticket offer at Target Field. It's the Torii Territory offer, April 17th through the 19th. The package includes a ticket in the Great Clips Great Seats in right field, where you can cheer on Torii from close range. Also get $10 in food and beverage credit, plus a Torii Territory t-shirt. Get your tickets today at twinsbaseball.com/Hunter. Here's Kenny Vargas with one gone in the second. And a strike on the outside corner. Vargas got his feet wet last year, distinguished himself with power.
9 home runs in 53 games last year for the Twins, drove in 38 runs. Power from both sides of the plate.
Off-speed pitch tickles the outside corner. 2 strikes.
Price last year, 248 and a third innings pitched, 271 strikeouts. Did give up 25 home runs in 34 starts.
Up and away, 1-2. He is now where Max Scherzer was on the timeline of free agency. Price is under Detroit's control for 1 year, and then if they don't work out an extension, Price will enter the free agent market after this year.
So pitching coach Jeff Jones keeping an eye on Price.
Scherzer, of course, signing huge contract with the Washington Nationals. And Price was obtained in part because the Tigers felt like we're in a stalemate with Scherzer, and acquired Price in the middle of last season. 1-2 to Kenny Vargas.
Avila going through a set of signs. Price not happy yet with what he has seen is from Avila. Wants a certain pitch here. See Avila with a new helmet. Old Charlie O'Brien type of mask.
Chop to the right side. Easy play for Kinsler. 2 down. Well, the Twins jumped into the free agent market by signing Irvin Santana, but Max Scherzer got 7 years for $30 million a year with the Nationals. John Lester made the start last night for the Cubs on their opening day. Hanley Ramirez to the Red Sox. James Shields out of the American League Central. Pablo Sandoval signing with the Red Sox. And Victor Martinez will be around here for a while. 2 down, and here is Trevor Plouffe. Good numbers against Price. 6 hits and a dozen at bats. Foul back to the screen. Hey, my goodness, we're 15 minutes or so into the season. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. Number 64 today.
Well, not to make you feel older, but technically this is your 65th.
Actually,
April
yes,
6th.
on this earth, yes. Yes. Thank you, Mommy.
Happy birthday. We've been working together now 21 years, and I'm guessing this is from memory. I think 6-7 times the Twins have opened a season on your birthday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
1-1.
And I'm not going to look back. Hopefully they're 6-0 and they'll go 7-0 today.
Well, Twins are hoping to break a 6 opening day game losing streak here today. They've lost their season opener 6 straight years. 2-1 to Plouffe. Twins looking for the first base runner. To left field. Cespedes is there. A couple of well hit balls. Santana hit a line drive. So did Plouffe. But David Price has a couple of perfect innings.
up the pace of the game, and one of them is the batter must remain inside the batter's box between pitches. Now, most of the Twins players don't see this as a big change because they don't have a lengthy routine between pitches. But I did talk to Jordan Schafer, who told me it does enter into his mind when he is at the plate, particularly, he says, after he takes a bad swing. He said he used to like to step back, kind of gather himself, and then refocus for the next pitch. So no more of that. It is an adjustment for guys like him, but most players say not a big change.
Yeah, if you make contact like Martinez did right there, you can step out of the box. But if he takes a strike, they want you to keep that foot in the batter's box.
Deep to right center field. And gone, a home run.
What a find for the Tigers starting last year when J.D. Martinez was released by the Houston Astros, picked up by the Tigers, and he's been doing exactly that for the Tigers. 23 home runs last year, and he puts the first run on the board for the Tigers this year with a home run.
That's a pretty far poke for a right-handed batter to hit it to deep right center field, just barely clearing the scoreboard and the wall out there, and it's 1-0 Detroit.
It's one thing that Phil Hughes was very stingy at last year, and that's giving up home runs. Only 16 home runs in 32 starts.
And now strike one to Yoenis Cespedes. Drilled down the line and fair. Toward the corner. Arcia gets it back in, and the second inning starts with a pair of extra base hits.
Well, Cespedes last year with the Oakland A's and the Boston Red Sox traded over to the Detroit Tigers over the winter. They feel this man right here, Cespedes, tremendous power, is going to add even more offense to already a very good offensive ball club, the Detroit Tigers. Tigers last year hit .277 as a club, best in the American League.
3 hits for the Tigers in their first 6 plate appearances, and now Castellanos. And might have been a cutter sailing outside. Ball 1. Castellanos, an accomplished offensive player. The Tigers hope he'll get better offensively. They really hope he'll tighten up his game defensively.
Yeah, they worked extremely hard with him at third base in spring training, but a man that, like you said, offensively can create some power. 148 ball games last year for Castellanos. He hit .259, drove in 66 runs. Only 23 years old. Tigers' #1 pick back in 2010.
And clips the outside corner, 1 and 2.
Yeah, both these starters here this afternoon, kind of artists out there as far as painting the corners, working both sides of the plate, in and out, whether you're a right-hander or left-hander.
Castellanos, as you can see, another right-handed batter. The Tigers with a lineup today, only one left-hander, and that's the on-deck hitter, Alex Avila. Lifted foul over the Twins dugout. Tigers don't have much punch from the left side. They've got Avila and Anthony Goes, but he's not known as an offensive player. And then switch hitter Romine. So as you look at this lineup, as daunting as it might be, it is very lopsided in one direction.
Well, it may be lopsided, but also they can hit, whether it's a righty or a lefty on the mound.
Pop foul again over the Twins dugout.
I mean, you have Cabrera that, what, 11 years in a row he's hit either over .290, driven in 25 home runs, over 100 RBIs. Victor Martinez, it doesn't matter,
right,
you know, what kind of, he's going to hit 300 from both sides of the plate.
1 and 2 to Castellanos.
Hughes needs a strikeout here.
Just off the plate.
Just missed with that little cutter. Phil last year 186 strikeouts in 209 2/3 innings. Only 16 walks, one of those intentional.
The number 16 pretty prominent on his stat line last year. 16 wins, 16 walks, which is, of course, incredible. There's a strikeout that he needed.
That's what he needed right there. Let's take a go back and at J.D. Martinez jumping on that fastball. And it looked like, Suzuki wanted it away. And Martinez, great extension. You can see the eye to bat contact. And he drove that ball like you mentioned, Dick. That's a long home run the other way for a right-handed hitter.
One down, and now Avila.
Especially in this damp air.
Well, the 16 home runs allowed by Hughes last year, that was one of the most important numbers for him because his home run rate nearly cut in half from his last year's in New York. 16 home runs allowed in 209 2/3 innings. It's a really good, for a fly ball pitcher, that's a pretty good home run to inning pitch ratio.
Yeah, and you don't mind giving up home runs. And I don't know how many to 16 were probably solo home runs too, so he'll attack the strike zone as we mentioned.
One strike to Avila. Avila, a strikeout candidate as well. And fouled away. The runner at second base, Cespedes, took 3 hard steps toward third base.
Yeah, we talked about the Tigers staying healthy with Cabrera and also Martinez, or Victor Martinez. How about this guy right here? They need Alex Avila to stay healthy. A lot of issues, a lot of concussion issues over his young career.
You mentioned he's trying the goalie-style catcher's mask now to try to deal with the impact of foul tips a little more successfully. Just off the plate.
Yeah, one thing, Brad Ausmus, of course, 18 years as a major league catcher, now the manager of the Tigers. What they worked on in spring training with Avila is to get down lower too in his squat position rather than maybe sitting up high. They feel a lot of those balls that are hitting off his mask he's sitting up a little too high. So they've been trying to get him to get down a little bit lower as a catcher.
2-2. James McCann won the battle for Detroit's backup catching position, but you're right. If Avila's healthy, he's proven to be very durable and doesn't like taking time off at all. He too, in the last year of his deal with the Tigers, approaching free agency next year.
Yeah, had a frustrating year last year, the concussion issues, but hit only .218 in 124 games.
Didn't see Omar Vizquel drop too many ground balls when he was a player. Dropped that 2-hopper from the first base's coaching box. First base coaching box. 2-2. He was trying to pitch around Cespedes' double, keep this a 1-0 ball game. That's to left, and that's going to carry well. Arcia back, and that ball is gone. 16 home runs all last year allowed by Phil Hughes, and 2 of them here in the second inning.
Boy, the ball jumping out of Comerica Park. Avila hitting that ball the other way. Avila with 11 home runs last year. Got underneath this pitch. Suzuki sitting outside. The ball came back over the plate, and Avila just hit it over that left field fence. 3-0 Tigers here in the second inning.
A single, a pair of home runs, a double in the first 8 at bats, and now here is Jose Iglesias. Up the middle and through, a base hit. 5 hits for the Tigers, the first time through their batting order, and a lot of them. Iglesias here. Kinsler in the first inning, jumping on the first pitch.
Yeah, Iglesias, his first season really at bat at the major league level since 2013. Missed all of last year as Neil Allen, the new pitching coach, hustles out to the mound to talk to Phil Hughes. Iglesias missed all of last year. Stress fractures in both legs.
Allen replacing longtime pitching coach Rick Anderson. was responsible, many people felt, for the Tampa Bay run of guys like David Price and Alex Cobb, others who worked through the minor league system in the Tampa Bay organization, and when they got to the big leagues, they were ready. And so now his job is to work with the major league staff with the Twins. A runner at first, one away, and here's Rajai Davis. Outside, ball one. 30 pitches for Hughes, 24 strikes. But a lot of them put in play hard here first time through the batting order.
Yeah, just missing his spots, and we didn't see that a lot from Phil Hughes last year. If Suzuki sits outer half of the plate, the ball's usually there. A couple balls left out over the plate, and the Tigers took advantage of those mistakes.
Flipped foul near the tarp, out of play, 1-1. Davis bounced out to Dozier to start the season for the Tigers. Right-handers last year against Hughes hit .289. Left-handers hit .249. So you can understand why Brad Ausmus played the numbers and decided to go with a very right-handed lineup.
Wow,
huge jump from Iglesias, and Hughes wasn't paying attention. Called strike, 1-2.
And credit Davis at home plate. He saw that too. He took that pitch pretty much right down in the middle of the plate.
Cespedes nearly stole third after his double earlier this inning.
Watch Davis's reaction. Just fake bunt and took it because he saw Iglesias with that huge jump.
You look at the Tiger lineup, and of course you think of the power, and we've seen that power here in the second inning. But Brad Ausmus likes to run. He likes to steal bases. Tigers didn't have a good Grapefruit League record, just 12 wins in 35 games, but they led the Grapefruit League in stolen bases. It's part of the game they feel they can use more now with more speed on the lineup. Bouncer to short, and Santana throws to Plouffe.
Nice play.
Good play by Santana, and Plouffe with the tag on Iglesias.
Yeah, twofold right there. Great play by Santana. Also a very good play by Trevor Plouffe, getting back toward third base. As a third baseman, it's a 2-year left. You go after it, but Plouffe right there tagging out Iglesias taking the advantage and really not good base running right there. Got to make sure that ball gets through that shortstop. So a nice defensive play by Santana and Plouffe.
It's a bad base running play, but particularly for a shortstop. No, I mean a shortstop, more than anybody else, should not make that blunder.
It's opening day. You're excited. You want to run.
Here's Ian Kinsler. Davis a threat to steal at first. And foul to the screen. Kinsler again going after the first pitch.
And he will. He is a first ball hitter. A lot of pitches this inning for Phil Hughes. This will be pitch number 25.
Paul Molitor saying before the game that Phil Hughes would be left to go in the neighborhood of 100 pitches depending on how the innings go.
And keep an eye on Davis at first base. 36 stolen bases last year in 47 attempts. Again, over 300 major league stolen bases.
One strike.
There he goes.
And there goes Davis. Didn't get a good jump. And safe at second. Suzuki's throw a little bit late. Didn't appear that Davis got a particularly good jump, but he swiped the bag anyway.
Well, he is so quick. Even though he stumbles a little bit right there, he's still head first slide. The quick tag by Dozier, but Davis able to get his hands in before Brian Dozier applies a tag. So 2 stolen bases this inning, along with 2 home runs.
1-1 to Kinsler. And a called strike, 1-2. Mentioned the Tigers didn't have a good Grapefruit League in terms of wins, just 12 wins, but their roster, the 25-man roster, has 10 different players who were named All-Stars, so no one's panicking in Detroit about the poor record in spring training. Phil Hughes strikes out Kinsler. A couple of opposite field home runs have the Tigers up 3-0. Oswaldo Arcia will try to do something about that in the third. Oswaldo Arcia will lead off the third inning. Arcia moved to left field from right field. He'd played some left field before, but the theory was that he felt more comfortable in right field. When in reality, though, he didn't look particularly comfortable in right field. So he will be playing in left field with Torii Hunter taking over in right.
Arcia, third season with the Twins. Last year, 103 games, 20 home runs.
See the infield into a pull shift for Arcia, and he hits it to Kinsler, who throws it out. One down. For T-Mobile game changer. The Twins riding Arcia, Santana, and Vargas last year. From the All-Star break on, the team was third in the American League in runs scored.
Some talented kids right there in Arcia, Santana, and Vargas.
One down, and that will bring up Kurt Suzuki. Suzuki, as we said, an All-Star catcher for the Twins in his first year. Signed an extension with the Twins. So much attention made to the free agent signees, Hunter, Irvin, Santana, but then the Twins also extending Suzuki, extending Brian Dozier during spring training, extending Phil Hughes over the inside corner, and it's 2 strikes now to Suzuki.
Yeah, a lot of new faces. Of course, we talked about the biggest face of all, that being Paul Molitor as a new manager.
Only 2 coaches held over from Ron Gardenhire's staff. 2 strikes to Suzuki. And up and away. The rotation was supposed to go Price, Verlander, Sanchez, but instead, with Verlander unable to take the ball tomorrow, Wednesday, Sanchez will move into the second spot in the rotation. That's high and deep to left field. Suzuki sends Cespedes to the wall, and he made the catch. I think got to show the ball. There it is. He took a home run away from Kurt Suzuki.
Boy, almost a golf shot by Suzuki. But Cespedes goes back to the warning track at the last second, leaped up and able to bring it back. That ball's down and in. Cepsidis goes back, looks where he's at, leaps, and yes, that ball would have been over the fence, but Cepsidis brings it back. What a great catch.
So 8 up and 8 down, even though there have been some well-hit balls here so far. Schafer will bat against David Price. And a strike over the inside corner. Not Schafer's first opening day with the team. A number of times with the Braves. His 4th opening day start, in fact, today. Aaron Hicks a couple weeks ago sent down to the Rochester AAA roster. Hicks had been the opening day center fielder the last 2 years. Breaking ball over 0-2. Schafer will see the bulk of time in center field. Shane Robinson, a right-handed batter, new to the Twins organization, will get some time out there as well. Crack foul. The Twins can't simply platoon the two because they've got another left-handed hitting outfielder, Oswaldo Arcia. So against some lefties, Robinson will replace Schafer in center, and against some other tough lefties, Robinson will be in for Arcia in left field. 2 strikes to Schafer. Back at the plate with a new stick.
Avila sitting away, and the ball missing away.
1-2 to Schafer.
31 pitches for Price, 22 strikes.
Paul Molitor deciding that his regular players, the guy he wants to put in the lineup on a regular basis, deserve a start, whether it's a righty or a lefty. Schafer got a piece of that. Basically saying if you want a job as a starter, you should start on opening day.
He said Schafer deserved it. You know, that big battle going into spring training, who was going to be the center fielder, and it came out Jordan Schafer.
Hanging tough against a tough lefty. 1-2. Off the plate, 2-2.
Schafer, 28 years old, came up with the Braves, spent some time with the Astros. Last year for the Twins, 41 games, hit .285. 15 stolen bases. Got to get him on. He's got tremendous speed.
That's to left center field. Davis in front of Cespedes. A perfect first trip through the batting order for David Price. Got a little help in the 3rd inning from his left fielder on Kurt Suzuki's drive.
J.D. Martinez giving the Tigers a 1-0 lead in his first at-bat, hitting a home run the other way. As Alex Avila with a runner on, Cespedes at second, a big 2-run home run, and 9 up, 9 down so far for David Price.
And in the Tiger third, it'll be Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez, J.D. Martinez. Cabrera hit a fly ball to right his first time up, and Hughes misses ball 1. The 2015 season beginning where the 2014 season ended. Twins had a 4-game series here to wrap up the year last year. Won a couple of the games and put a little heat on the Tigers because the Tigers were being pursued heavily by the Royals and ended up finishing just 1 game ahead of Kansas.
Yeah, actually, the Twins had a winning record season series against the Tigers last year. They won 10 of the 19 played, and 5-5 here at Comerica Park.
Tigers were looking forward to the postseason. Twins were playing out the string, but there was a subplot in that 4-game series regarding Phil Hughes. Swing and a miss. Foul tip, 2-2. Hughes last year for the Twins pitched 209 2/3 innings, and rain kept him from getting the 210 innings he needed to get a pretty lucrative bonus tacked onto his contract. $500,000. High fly ball, short center field, and Dozier retreats for the catch, 1 away. We'll continue that thought in a second. Take a look at the carsoup.com trivia question. We're back with trivia, partner.
Yes, let's go.
21 years now, and we worked together 20 complete seasons, and we've gotten every question right.
You're absolutely right.
For Phil Hughes last year, who was the last pitcher to have as many wins as he had walks. We're in trouble. Victor Martinez. Victor Martinez will hit. Hughes had a rain-shortened outing at Target Field, and the Twins finished with 4 games here. And the Twins gave Hughes the opportunity to do something that would have been peculiar for him, and that is get an inning, a third of an inning, out of the bullpen. Just get it out. Here's a ball hit to right, and Hunter with a basket catch, out number 2. And it was in the manager's office. Phil Hughes came up after being given that opportunity, and he told Rick Anderson and Ron Gardenhire, no, I'm done. Wouldn't be right to do that. It would make what was otherwise a very good year seem a little odd.
Well, it was a time, too. There were a lot of young pitchers out in that bullpen, too, and Phil didn't want to take any work away from maybe an inning or two from somebody that might, be wanting a chance to pitch on the field. So a nice gesture, but the Twins took care of him by the extension.
Yes, they did. Strike 1 to J.D. Martinez. Showed incredible power by driving the ball over the right center field fence here at Comerica Park. Goes after a high fastball, 0-2.
I have the trivia question. I remember because when Phil did that, I did some research.
All right. Well,
and I didn't even use a media guide.
2 strikes to J.D. Martinez. Half swing, but it's strike 3, and Phil Hughes has a quick 1-2-3 third inning through the 3, 4, and 5 batters of the Tigers. Danny Santana will lead off the 4th when we come back. Century Link, your link to what's next. By NorthlandFord.com and your local Northland Ford dealer. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. David Price to Danny Santana, showing bunt and taking a strike. Santana fell behind Price in his first at bat and ended up hitting a bullet to the glove of Castellanos. And still looking for the first base runner. And a liner speared by Kinsler. And the Twins are hitting rockets all over Comerica Park and don't have a thing to show for it.
Second at bat, Santana has hit the ball right on the button this time to the leaping Kinsler at second base. As high as Kinsler can get, he got there. Able to snare that into his glove.
There's been a very deep fly ball and 3 balls hit right on the butt. 2 of them by Santana. 1 away, and here's Dozier. Fouled out on the first pitch he saw from Price back in the first inning, and he takes strike 1. Dozier takes outside, 1-1. Santana with 2 rockets.
Bruno, I'm sure Tom Bernansky and Rudy Hernandez, now the assistant hitting coach, saying keep swinging just like that. They will fall in.
Two and 1 to Dozier. This will be the 40th pitch for David Price. Skied again in foul ground. Cabrera. Avila got a late start, but is there for the catch. 2 down. Mentioned 2 holdovers from Ron Gardenhire's coaching staff. Told you a little bit about Neil Allen's background. Rudy Hernandez within the organization. Eddie Guardado, the bullpen coach, was a spring training instructor. Butch Davis, Gene Glenn, the Minnesota native.
Yeah, Butch Davis coming out of the Orioles system. That he was a manager, coach for many, many years. And there's Gene Glenn. There's Butch Davis.
Lonely guys out there. The Twins don't have a base runner yet. Here's Mauer. Bumps to second his first time up. A new manager, those new coaches, and 12 new players that were not with the Twins on opening day last year. One strike to Mauer. And now 2 strikes. You can see last year Suzuki hit higher on the lineup, but Josh Willingham was in left. Colabella was the designated hitter. Aaron Hicks was in center. Pedro Florimon was the shortstop. Oh, quite a bit of turnover from an organization that isn't used to change. 2 strikes to Mauer. And a call, 3rd strike, 4 perfect innings for David Price. In the 4th inning, he's got his second baseman, Kinsler, to thank.
It's a time of renewal for fans, enthusiasm, spring.
Starts with the same record. Everyone's optimistic.
My first opportunity to throw opening day.
A lot of new faces around here, but a lot of familiar faces as well.
It truly is a special day to be a part of.
And I can't think of any wider level of enthusiasm or interest than for a starting pitcher. Now, how many starting assignments did you get? Opening day assignment?
I had 12.
Okay.
Had a dozen.
And I'm sure it's more intense for you. You're so, as a starting pitcher, so intimately involved in the game. But if you're a starting pitcher and you're not involved in opening day,
you relax.
Yeah.
Then you get it, but whenever your start comes,
yeah,
then that's kind of your opening day.
Cespedes skies one, short center, and Schafer comes in for the catch, one away. Well, Hughes gave up a couple of opposite field home runs in the 3-run second, but now he's sent down 6 men in a row. He's having a much better time the second time through the batting order.
Hey, you want to stay, and this is what we saw last year so many times from the starting staff, those multi-run innings, and that kind of hurt Phil in the second inning with the 2-run home runs and the 3 runs put on the board by the Tigers.
Here's Castellanos, went down swinging his first time up at the time and looked like an awfully big strikeout for Hughes because he was trying to leave Cespedes at second base. Then the next guy, Avila, hit an opposite field home run. 1 strike.
Yeah, you don't like to go out there and be perfect, put zeros on the board, kind of what David Price is doing right now, but you're going to have little hiccups. It's how you come back from that, and as you mentioned, 6 straight outs now recorded by Phil Hughes since that home run by Avila. Keep your club in the game.
1-1.
Fastball away.
Back 1-2. 4 straight division titles for the Tigers. Of course, the Twins had their run of success with 6 division titles over 9 years, and then now 4 very difficult seasons for the Twins.
Yeah, over those 4 years for the Tigers, nobody's won more games over those 4 years than the Detroit Tigers. 84 games, over 500 since 2011. What's missing here is that World Series. You can go to postseason. Orioles beat them 3 straight last year in postseason. Nice article on Dave Dombrowski, the general manager, coming over from Miami, where they won the World Series. But, of course, that's eluded him here as general manager. And the Tigers have spent a lot of money to try to get to that World Series again.
There's Dave Dombrowski. Tigers in his tenure have been to the World Series twice. 3-2 to Castellanos, and Hughes, who's given up a couple of home runs today, now issues a walk,
and a rare walk,
not close to the strike zone, and you can see Hughes' frustration.
Well, look at the strikeout to ball ratio. That's the best in Major League history. What he was able to do last year. 16 walks, 1 of those intentional in the innings pitched.
And a 1-out walk putting Castellanos aboard here in the 4th. Alex Avila hit an opposite field home run to take the score from 1-0 to 3-0. This one looped to left. Arcia will play it on a hop. It's a base hit again to the opposite field. Plays like that will be watched by the Twins dugout to see how Arcia handles them. And basically what they want him to do, they know he's not probably ever going to win a Gold Glove out there, but don't play singles into doubles and don't play doubles into triples.
Another ball up, and again, these Tigers know all about Phil Hughes. He will throw that first pitch over the plate, and they're out there swinging the bat early. That ball kind of, had that little bit of a twist to it, so good play by Arcia keeping the ball in front of him.
Iglesias grounded a first pitch from Hughes into center field for a single. And strike on the outside corner. Iglesias with stress fracture in both shins last year. Didn't play at all. Starting to see a little bit more of that. You know, for a while, shortstops were nothing unless they could put up gaudy offensive numbers, but you're seeing more and more defensive-oriented shortstop. Didi Gregorius for the Yankees. He's not known as a hitter, but he's very good defensively, and that's so far Iglesias' strength, his defense.
Well, they ran some guys out there last year, and they weren't real happy. They expected Iglesias out of spring training last year to be their Gold Glove shortstop. He can pick it, and then you have a coach like Omar Vizquel that will coach you to make you even a better defensive player.
2 strikes to Iglesias. Twins, of course, had Pedro Florimon, who fit that mold, a defensive-oriented shortstop. See if they can get 2. 1.
Nope.
And Dozier with a quick pivot.
Yeah, the ball not hit hard enough, and Iglesias getting down that line very quickly. So you make sure of 1, and that's what Santana and Dozier were able to do.
Runners on the corners with 2 out, and now Rajai Davis.
Kind of got into the fist of Iglesias, hit softly. Iglesias, very good speed. We saw him steal a base in the 2nd inning to save it first.
Castellanos at 3rd, Iglesias at 1st. The batter, Davis. Big swing and a miss. Saw Hughes do that a lot last year. The reason he logged so many innings for the Twins, once he built a reputation as a strike thrower, a lot of quick at bats, a lot of batters chasing after the first pitch.
Yeah, 19 batters, 14 first pitch strikes so far.
1-1.
And again, the hitters know that, you know. I mean, but the Phil Hughes, he's kind of sneaky fast. That ball, he pitches up in the zone. That ball has sometimes a little bit of giddy up, and then he changes the eye level. He'll go down with that, maybe a little cutter down and away. Has that slow curveball and a changeup. Worked on that changeup a lot in spring training, but he said it's a pitch that he's not going to throw a lot.
Neil Allen, the new pitching coach, has stressed that with the pitching staff, both starters and relievers. 1-1.
10th season at the major league level for Davis. And there's that fastball. It's almost as sneaky. I mean, you saw Davis had a good swing, but the ball just kind of took off. Sneaky fast. Sometimes he'll refer to pitchers that have that kind of not a long arm, but kind of a short arm, quick release toward home plate. But going back to another fastball away. Ooh, just missed.
Off the corner. Hughes and a couple of his infielders took a step toward the dugout.
Well, you have a veteran umpire behind the plate, Joe West. He's been umpiring for more than any other umpire in either league.
And he made a good call there. That pitch was outside. Talk about sneaky fast, but you know, I mean, Hughes is 6'5", 250. When you're talking about somebody being sneaky fast, it really doesn't have much to do with their physical stature. It's the release point, maybe. And
yeah, he doesn't have, like I mentioned, he doesn't have that long arm where you see the ball. He's kind of like comes out of his right ear.
There's a call, 3rd strike. Hughes missed the outside corner, got the inside corner, and he strands a couple of Tigers in the 4th. for the first base runner. They've hit 4 line drives for outs. A couple of outstanding plays in the field. One by Cespedes, taking a home run away from Kurt Suzuki. And leading off the 4th inning, Santana hit a blistering line drive that Kinsler leaped for. And now 1-1 to Hunter. 2 strikeouts for Price, both of them looking. Hunter in the 2nd and Mauer in the 4th. A little lazy fly ball to right, and J.D. Martinez trots in. 1 away. Take a look at our Pepsi fan of the game. Twins fan with pretty good seats here.
Yeah, another nice crowd. They have drawn over 3 million people here over the last 3 seasons. So people here in Michigan very supportive of their Detroit Tigers.
Here's Kenny Vargas, hit a ground ball to second his first time up. And fouled over the Twins dugout.
David Price, 29 years old. This is his 182nd major league start. Good win-loss record in his career. 86 wins, 51 losses. Good earned run average at 3.21. Won his first major league game against the Twins back in 2009, and there's the first hit.
Vargas with a single, and if Castellanos had pulled that down, we would have folded up our notes and gone home. Another well-hit ball. This one finally finding some grass.
Castellanos playing him a little bit off the line, and breaking ball, and good swing by Vargas, hitting it sharply again down into that left field corner.
Plouffe hit a liner to Cespedes his first time up. This is a good road trip for the Twins, at least in terms of being a measuring stick. In fact, the first 4 series for the Twins are against the other 4 teams in the American League Central. 22 of the first 25 games are within the division. Here's Plouffe. But it is a very difficult road trip in terms of who the Twins will face in the starting pitching department, and it just is an example of how talented the pitching staffs are in the American League Central.
Yeah, a lot of people feel in baseball that the American League Central might be one of the toughest divisions in all of baseball.
A high fly to fairly deep center. Davis retreating.
Yeah, a lot of room out there.
2 down. Put down the yard tools. Pick up your glove. Check out the new 2015 Weekend Warrior ticket package. You can get all Friday, all Saturday, or all Sunday home games. Become a Twins season ticket holder today. Get your ticket to summer. Call 833 Twins or visit twinsbaseball.com/Weekend Warrior for more info or to place a deposit. All right, so you're Oswaldo Arcia, and you feel more comfortable up there against right-handed pitching than left-handed pitching, and then you've got to face David Price, and then knowing that later on in this road trip, at the end of this road trip, the Twins will face Chris Sale. There might not be 2 tougher lefties in the American League than these 2 guys.
Well, you're not going to put your head in the dirt and say, I don't want to play. You're going to have to face them, and hopefully you can win the battle.
1-0 to Arcia.
Well, Tom Bernansky and Rudy Hernandez have really worked on Arcia's just making better contact. He struck out a lot over the last couple years for the Twins. Finds himself behind an account here. 1-1.
This is interesting with a man aboard. The Tigers are even more drastically shifting Arcia in the infield. That is Iglesias, the shortstop, and he's almost lined up behind second base. 1-1 to Oswaldo Arcia. Popped up. There's nobody, even if it were in the field to play, who could possibly get there. Now, I don't know how many times Arcia will do it, but Paul Molitor was working with, and the coaching staff working with, middle of the lineup type of batters who get shifted on dropping down bunts, which is really the only offense you can take to the defense that we're seeing more prevalent in baseball.
Right, and you wonder, but here there's 2 outs. You know, Twins are down by 3 runs. You'd like to maybe hit a 2-run home run right here. Maybe Price will make a mistake. And he does not.
And he strikes out Arcia. The Twins get their first hit and leave Vargas aboard. Fifth season opening game for the Twins. Tigers playing their 115th season opener.
And Jim Price, their radio guy, has been with them every year.
Girls on the Run Twin Cities uses running to inspire girls to be healthy and confident. Saturday, May 30th, join the Fox Sports North girls at the University of Minnesota for the Girls on the Run Spring 5K. To register, visit foxsportsnorth.com. Click on upcoming events. Kinsler takes a strike. It's one of the best parts of the job for us. I think I can speak for you.
Is laughing.
Big pop-up
at Jim Price.
Suzuki back near the screen, but it's out of play. But for me, the off-season is too long anyway. And one of the things I enjoy the most about my job is the people I get to meet from the different teams. And Jim Price, Dan Dickerson, Mario Impemba, Rod Allen.
Now Kirk Gibson.
Kirk Gibson's part of the Tiger TV crew now. But I miss all those people, our camera people, and
yeah, Jack Morris is going to be doing some Tiger games throughout the summer.
He's going to be doing some Twins games.
Yes, he will.
Summer. You told me now you're take a look at the former Arizona manager. He was at Target Field late last year. Needs to work on getting a better seat. He's got an obstructed view there with it.
Oh, knowing him, he'll take care of it. He may break that down.
0-2 to Kinsler. The ball laced to center. Schafer will have to play it on a hop. And a 2-strike hit for Kinsler to lead off the 5th. Our Coors Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. And Miguel Cabrera had an off year last year, but still got 52 doubles.
Yeah, unbelievable hitter. Cabrera now in his 8th season with the Tigers, 13th overall. 5 years with the Marlins, came over to the Tigers in 2008. Tremendous player.
He had an off year because he was hurt. He had ankle surgery in the off season. Grounder picked up by Plouffe from his knees out there. Relay to first. Double play. Very nice double play started by Trevor Plouffe.
Yeah, nice dive right there by Plouffe to his left, making sure he smothers that ball. Then from his knees, making sure he gives Brian Dozier a good feed. And Brian Dozier knows who hit this ball, and that being Cabrera has plenty of time get out of the way of the runner Kinsler and completes a double play. So first double play for either side is turned by the Twins.
Trevor played a little second base for the Twins a few years ago, and now he's playing where a second baseman would normally play. Brian Dozier goes into short right field for Victor Martinez. You know, we talked about working hard on your game, and Trevor Plouffe has done that on his defense. And the biggest issue with Trevor has been his first step quickness, and we saw maybe some improvement on that play. That required, in order to make that play, he had to get a quick jump going to his left, and he started a nice double play.
How many times have we gone to the ballpark early and you see, you know, guys coming out early working on things? Trevor Plouffe always out there working on trying to be quick. Nice turn of a double play.
And now Martinez hacks one near third base, 1-2. Well, the Twins saw that years ago with the Corey Koski, who was considered to be kind of a raw prospect at third base, but Corey became as good as they got in the American League at third base because he worked hard.
And he credited Ron Gardenhire a lot, you know, he's out there, and sometimes we talk about the player being out there at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, but it's the coaches that are out there helping him hit fungos over and over and over.
2-2 to Victor Martinez. A pop to short and a fly to right so far for the Tiger DH. 7 hits for the Tigers, just 1 for the Twins. A couple of opposite field home runs putting the Tigers in front. You don't see Martinez strike out very often. Here a called third strike. Hughes faces just 3 men, and Kurt Suzuki will lead off the 6th for the Twins.
That first day is unbelievable. You know, it feels like pure baseball.
Excited to see what the season brings this year.
Most exciting day in baseball.
You don't know what they expect, what the fans are going to, they don't know what they expect.
And the national anthem was a little more special.
Nothing better than getting the Major League season started.
And if you'll pardon the pun, we had the Four Tops performing the national anthem here. And for baseball fans, well, we just can't help myself. We really get excited about opening day. And very happy to be here. Very happy that the offseason is over. Kurt Suzuki leading off the 6th, taking ball 1. Suzuki golfed a drive toward the bullpen, and Cespedes leaped over the fence to rob him of a home run. And now 2-0.
Great pitch count for David Price, starting his 6th inning of work. Came in with only 54 pitches in the first 5 innings. Only 1 blemish, the hit by Vargas. 3 strikeouts, no walks.
Suzuki drives one to right, and that's a base hit. A leadoff single for the Twins here in the 6th.
Boy, and we saw that so many times from Kurt Suzuki. That's the type of hitter he is. He's actually become a better hitter as the older he gets. Came up with Oakland in 2007, more of a defensive catcher, but here just taking that pitch the other way. Guy that hit 288 last year.
You know, one of my favorite things to do during spring training down in Fort Myers is I love to get behind the batting cage and watch guys take batting practice. And more than anybody else on the Twins roster, Suzuki hits the ball in batting practice where it's pitched. If it's middle half away, well, he hits the ball to the opposite field. If it's inside, he pulls the ball. And you know, from the time you pick up a bat, you're taught to do that, but nobody executes it on the Twins roster, I don't think, any more or any better than Kurt Suzuki.
You know, when Edgar Martinez played with the Seattle Mariners, I used to love to watch him take BP too.
There's Schafer with a 1-ball count. And now a fastball taken for a strike.
Yeah, there's certain hitters, even when I played I'd go out and watch the opposing team hit, and you can see guys that are really working on something, and that kind of helped me sometimes, because if guy's just working on hitting the ball the other way, maybe he's having a little trouble with that pitch outside part of the plate, so you kind of find out what he's trying to do. So batting practice is important to watch, to me, as a former pitcher, the other team's batting practice.
Since you mentioned Edgar Martinez, I saw Torii Hunter do in spring training what Martinez used to do, and that is take batting practice with a batting donut. I was watching Torii take batting practice, and he hit the ball, and it sounded weird, and I looked at his bat, and here there was the weighted sleeve or down around the trademark. Get his bat a little bit quicker. 1-2 to Schafer. See if the Twins can do anything with his leadoff single. The Twins won the season series with the Tigers last year and had some games where they really ran up the score against this vaunted Tiger pitching staff. But a tough assignment here on opening day against David Price.
Yeah, that was a good take by Schafer, that last pitch, that breaking ball down and away.
Crack foul.
That ball kind of snuck on him, and more of a defensive swing right there, able just to foul it off. Maybe looking for another breaking ball, and Price threw that 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Two and two to the number 9 batter with Santana on deck. Good at bat for Schafer, and a good start to this 6th inning for the Twins.
I just mentioned he fouled off that pitch, and that kind of kept the bat going, and here Price came back with another fastball, but got too much of the plate, and Schafer took it right back up the middle.
And now Santana with 2 men on, nobody out. What Santana needs here is a jam shot that kind of flops into right field or something. He's hit 2 Ps.
One of those dying quails?
Yes.
Or those duck things?
Santana with a liner to Castellanos in the 1st. And Kinsler leaped as high as he could to take away a hit on a line drive in the 4th. Pitch tracks in your lower right-hand corner with Castellanos and Cabrera in on the grass at the corners. Swing and a miss. Pitch tracks presented by Chrysler. Santana, one of the 12 players not with the team on opening day in Chicago last year. Started the year in Rochester.
He threw that fastball right by him. Price trying to find a little extra here.
All the numbers good, particularly with men in scoring position. He had 319, drove in 40 runs, and scored 70 in just over 400 at bats. Over the inside corner, and on 3 pitches, Price strikes him out.
That froze him right there. Price picking up strikeout number 4. Avila sitting inside, and the ball inside for strike 3.
Now Dozier. Dozier's led the team in home runs in each of the last 2 years, and the Twins would love him to get his first one in this spot. A couple of foul outs, one to Cabrera, one to Avila in his first 2 at bats.
Yeah, Brian does have 2 career home runs against David Price.
Outside ball 1.
Changeup missing down and away.
When Dozier signed his extension, he and general manager Terry Ryan both made comments suggesting that there's a level that Dozier can attain that he's not attained yet. And specifically, they're talking about batting average. Bouncer to short. Iglesias, Kinsler, Cabrera, double play. Couple of hits to start the 6th inning, but Price pitches out of it, and it's still 3-0 Detroit. Where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. And by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. Tigers jumping in front on a couple of opposite field home runs. A 3-run 2nd inning against Phil Hughes. And one of those home runs, the first one, hit by J.D. Martinez. 1 strike. Houston Astros have done a lot of things over the last several years that have caused people in baseball to shake their heads. This may be the biggest head shaker of them all. Swinging a foul back. J.D. Martinez got a chance to play, going from a last place organization and jumping into the lineup for a first place team, and looked like he belonged in the middle of the first place team's lineup all along.
Well, you know, for some reason the Astros ended up releasing him late in spring training last year, and then 2 days later he signed with the Tigers, and what a year he had.
But he did not have, and pardon the comparison, the struggles of Aaron Hicks. He did not put up like Aaron Hicks type numbers. He hit .252, 600 at bats, 17 home runs. This is over parts of 3 years with the Astros. 90 runs batted in, and again just over 600 at bats. Why would you release a guy like that?
I guess Houston's just a powerhouse. They have a lot of talent.
Popped up short right, Hunter near the line with the catch, one away. And Yoenis Cespedes, who has a double run scored and a home run robbing catch for the Tigers in his Tiger debut.
This came off of Kurt Suzuki's first at bat in the 3rd inning. And David Price saying thank you very much. And then Ian Kinsler leaping as high as he can. Price saying thank you very much, defense.
Cespedes cracked a double down the left field line and scored on Avila's home run. Strike one.
Yeah, Tigers had to give up Rick Porcello to get Cespedes from the Boston Red Sox. Cespedes last year an all-star when he was with the Oakland A's.
Moves like that, to me, speak more loudly about where the Twins have been at in the pitching department and where the Tigers have been at. It's not who the Tigers have had, it's who they've gotten rid of. A drive to deep center field. Schafer back at the wall. Can't make the play. The carom to Arcia, who holds the ball, and that will allow Cespedes to gain third base. Schafer got back there, and it's a home run anywhere else but Comerica Park. And then the ball hit off the wall, and Arcia picked up the carom.
Yeah, so much room here. 420 feet straight away center. And Schafer has to utilize some of his speed, but that ball hung right there. Cespedes hitting this ball sharply. I think he thought it was gone.
Schafer got near the wall and didn't get leather on it. A one-out triple for Cespedes, who already has a double. Twins will bring the infield in here. But, you know, we faced the Tigers for the last 4 years, and they've had Verlander, then they had Scherzer. They lost Scherzer. They traded Doug Fister. They traded Rick Porcello. They traded Drew Smyly. I mean, these are all pitchers that, you know, would look good in just about every rotation in the American League Central, except Detroit's, apparently. One strike to Castellanos. He has not put a ball in play. He struck out and walked. And now 2 strikes. You struck out Castellanos with Cespedes at second and nobody out in the second. And now he'll go after him ahead on the count 0-2.
Needs a strikeout right here. Already 5 in the ball game. '86 pitches for Phil Hughes. Excuse me, 87.
0-2. Tried to get the inside corner with the cutter and just missed. That's the pitch, I think, that struck out Davis to wrap up the 4th inning. And off the plate. To center. Schafer with a tumbling catch, tagging and scoring is Cespedes. Schafer, whatever chance he would have had to make a throw, looked like he stumbled a little bit towards the end, catching the ball about knee high.
Castellanos hitting this ball sharply. Schafer comes in, looked like it had some top spin on it, and he had to catch this about as he dove for the ball, and that created that slide and allowed Cespedes to tag up and score. So it's a 4-0 Tigers lead.
Yeah, about ankle high. Base is empty, and the Twins will put a shift on for Avila. A couple of opposite field hits, including a home run. Both hits to the outfield. And foul back. People are wondering what Avila's long-term future is with the Tigers, a free agent after this year. James McCann is the backup catcher here. Avila's father's the assistant GM, or one of them, here for the Tigers. 2 strikes.
Yeah, over the winter, the Tigers, as you see some action in the bullpen, Graham and Thompson, they had a team option on Avila and picked it up.
Up and away, 1-2. Hughes has not pitched as sharply as he did for most of his starts last year, as the 8 hits would suggest. Half of them for extra bases. 2-2. Avila's home run, the biggest hit for the Tigers. Hughes had given up the J.D. Martinez home run, but got ahead of Avila. Looked like he was on his way to pitching out of the inning. He strikes out Avila here, but the 1-out triple by Cespedes leads to another run, and it's 4-0 Detroit. Tigers taking Phil Hughes deep a couple of times in Paul Molitor's first major league game as a manager.
Well, they're not always going to go the way you think, but offensively the Tigers came out swinging a bat, especially in the second inning when they hit 2 home runs off of Phil Hughes, took a 3-0 lead. But the story here, pretty good defense by the Tigers, but it's that left-hander on the mound. That man right there, David Price, 6 shutout innings so far. 4 strikeouts for Price. He's allowed only 3 hits, all singles.
And he's only pitched 68 pitches. So he's out there, of course, in the 7th, facing Mauer, Hunter, and Vargas. Off the fist, and a jam shot to second. Kinsler waits and fires 1 quick out. Twins will not face Justin Verlander as scheduled on Wednesday because Verlander felt a twinge in the back of his pitching arm. And he pitched yesterday, and they said it went well, but not as well as they had hoped towards the end. So it's expected that he will be put on the disabled list and maybe make his first start on the 12th.
Yeah, he's never been on a disabled list. He's really been a workhorse for the Tigers over his career. And you know, he's had some physical problems, but they've all been after the season during the winter, so he'd had enough time to rehab to get ready for spring training.
1 strike to Hunter. Strike 2 as Price buries that fastball over the inside corner.
That's the fastball that struck out Torii in the 2nd inning. Price's first strikeout.
And time called. A lot of people making a big deal out of Torii hitting in the cleanup spot. Torii says, hey, I've hit cleanup before, but I'll bet not very often for the Tigers or the Angels over the last 7 years, given the lineup that Torii has hit with. The Angels, very good lineup. Certainly here in his 2 years with the Tigers, he didn't have a chance to hit cleanup very often, if at all. 1-2. And foul to the screen.
Good swing right there by Torii. 19th season for Torii Hunter. Came up with the Twins in '97. And watch this breaking ball right here. A little cutter, and Torii. Good swing. As a pitcher, you feel that because where that ball ended up, right behind, home plate, that net. You see, I don't want to make that mistake again.
Sailing outside 2-2.
5-time All-Star, 9-time Gold Glove winner, Torii Hunter. Turned 40 years old in July. And he still looks like he's in his 20s.
Foul back. Paul Molitor reiterating today in meeting with the media that the Twins were interested in Hunter for his offensive production. A lot has been made of his mentorship, leadership in the clubhouse. Hopefully a chance to still work with Aaron Hicks and help him. Beyond that, maybe Byron Buxton. But again, the Twins were impressed with the numbers that Hunter put up. Checks his swing, and it's a full count. We were talking earlier about Suzuki and what he does in batting practice, and you see the same thing with Torii. He is so much more of an accomplished, polished hitter than he was when he was with the Twins the first time. In terms of using the whole field and being a more complete hitter.
Right, and you become more of a student of the game.
Hot ground ball. Scooped up by Iglesias. Hunter retired, 2 down. And before Vargas is at bat, Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Boys and Girls Clubs help young people reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens through programs that promote character and leadership, education, healthy lifestyles, and more. And for more info, visit foxsportsupports.com. That's why we're wearing these nice gold-toned pins today. Support of the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Great organizations.
Here's Vargas. Got the first Twins hit with a solid line drive single to left. Came with 1 out on the 5th. 1 strike to Vargas. Twins with 3 singles. Price hasn't walked anybody. The Tigers have played well in the field. And Iglesias gets another try. 3 ground ball outs and a clean 1-2-3 7th inning for David Price. He's only thrown 78 pitches, and he hopes in his first opening day assignment for the Tigers he might have a chance at a complete game. It's 4-0 Tigers, home half of the 7th, and we'll stay here at Comerica Park for God Bless America.
To all please stand and join in the singing of God Bless America, performed today by Staff Sergeant Amy Gould of the 126th Army Band.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Hey everybody, it's time now for the Health Plus 7th inning stretch, so stand up and stand.
Find yourself in a Minnesota Lottery winner circle where you can win $100 worth of lottery scratch-off tickets courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery.
4-0 in Detroit, and a perfect spot for the Major League debut of J.R. Graham, who was one of the great stories in spring training for the Twins this year.
Yeah, Rule 5 draft from the Braves organization. Last year was in Double-A, Single-A and Double-A. 25 years old, you see, from Livermore, California. And a little nervous, throwing that fastball up and in on Iglesias.
1-0. Graham had a good spring, and just a refresher course, the Rule 5 draft, meaning that the Twins have to keep him on the big league roster or offer him back to the Braves. Foul back 1-1. In reality, he was one of the best, if not the best, reliever who pitched for the Twins in spring training.
Up until his last outing.
He had one bad outing, right. Right. But he had made the team essentially by then.
Right.
And up high.
Yeah, scouting report on Graham, a good fastball, low 90s. You just saw that hard slider that stayed up, a change up, and also a split finger. J.R. Jonathan Ryan. Graham.
Very high.
Trying to overthrow right now. Of course, the excitement of pitching at the major league level for the first time. Your first major league appearance.
Twins threw him in some tough spots in spring training, entering in the middle of an inning with men on base. And there's a strike 3-2, and he handled all of that very well. But of course, this is a completely different situation with the ballpark full, opening day, facing a big league hitter.
See, that's the way we used to wear our stirrups.
They don't even wear stirrups anymore. What are you talking about? Chopper up the middle. And Dozier backhands it but has no play. It'll be an infield hit for Iglesias, his second hit of the ball game. But you had the stirrup socks over the sanitary socks, and then you had the pants rolled up right below the knees.
Well, yeah, and then we had to show the TC on our stirrups too back in the 70s.
Everybody else, they just wear conventional socks now with the pants pulled down over their ankles to the shoe tops or beyond. Here's Rajay Davis. He's got his pant legs rolled up around his knees. Really, I suppose, to be accurate, should stop using the term baseball uniform, because there's nothing uniform about it anymore. People wear their pants at different lengths. They wear different socks. One strike, the runner goes. Suzuki's throw on one up, not in time, backed up by Santana. Second stolen base for Iglesias.
Yeah, again, a little bit of that running game you talked about earlier that Brad Ausmus wants to do. And Iglesias, he had a great jump off of Phil Hughes, a pretty good jump right there, feet first slide. Third stolen base for the Tigers in the ball game. Iglesias second.
Iglesias and Davis each stole a base against Hughes in the second inning. Didn't involve or didn't result in any additional scoring because the runs scored on home runs. 1-1 now to Rajay Davis. To the right field corner. But foul. 1-2. Graham, not a big guy, 6 foot, 210. And Rule 5 guys typically are in their early 20s. This guy's in his mid-20s. 5th year of professional baseball.
Yeah, last year for the Braves in Double-A, kind of a spot starter. 19 starts in 27 ball games.
1-2. Looking to strike out Davis. Breaking ball down and away. Now this is something that's been proven over the years. As soon as I mention how someone In fact, it happened earlier today. We were talking about Phil Hughes only giving up 16 home runs, and then boom, boom, he gave up a couple of them in the second. This guy only gave up 2 home runs last year, and they both came in the same game. Fouled away.
Well, if we had that much control, we would be ahead in this ball game.
And the last 4 years would have been a whole lot more fun for Twins fans to watch if we had that power.
Yes.
2-2 to Davis. You know, it's interesting. He was drafted by the Twins in December 11th in the Rule 5 draft. And within a month was already named the 20th best prospect in the Twins system, remembering that the Twins system is loaded with pretty good prospects. So he stepped in and kind of jumped into the picture and then had a good spring training to back it up.
When I see a young man right now, I mean, he's very nervous. I can guarantee you that. You can see where those fastballs have been, and either up like he almost knocked Iglesias' head off, and that pitch right there, Suzuki had to kind of reach out far to get that fastball.
3-2. And it's ball 4. There'll be runners at first and second.
Tried the 3-2 slider and missed.
Well, now's the time to get nervous because you got Kinsler and Cabrera and Martinez and Martinez. Car Soup trivia question. You've got the answer.
Carlos Silva. Chief.
9 wins, 9 walks.
Was that the year that he shut out the Angels and had what, 6 double plays turned behind him, and after the final out he threw it in the upper deck at the Dome? That was awesome.
He covered first base for the final double play.
Yep.
Well, it might have been his first complete game for all I know, but he took the baseball and fired it, heaved it into the upper deck. Pitch tracks presented by Carrier, and Graham's going to try to keep pitch tracks in the strike zone, at least get ahead of Kinsler, and he's kind of pitched himself into one of those situations we talked about him succeeding in spring training. First and second, nobody out. Brought to you by Carrier, and there's strike 1.
Now that helps right there. Get ahead in the count. Twins have turned 1 double play. That off the bat of Cabrera in the 5th inning. Could use one right here.
Dug out by Suzuki, 1-1.
You have to really rely on your scouts and your reports on getting somebody in a Rule 5 trade. Now in 2012, Graham had an outstanding year in the Braves organization, combined 12-2 between Single A and Double A.
Mauer will track this, but it spins back out of play.
Had 26 starts, an ERA at 2.0, and in the last couple years not as well. Had some injuries in 2013. Last year kind of spot start.
Had a good first half going last year, and then not so much in the second half. 1-2 to the veteran Kinsler with Miguel Cabrera on deck.
Need a strikeout here. Iglesias kind of doing a little cat and mouse, jumping up and down over at second base. Graham giving him a big look. It's Dozier that will be covering second base. Try to keep Iglesias close to the bag.
Chopper to short.
Take it yourself.
Santana.
Perfect. Double play.
Goes to the bag and he rifles his throw to Mauer, and there's the double play grounder.
Yeah, Davis very quick, so Santana on that, he has to take it himself. A little flip over to Dozier. May not have been able to turn the double play. It's right in front of you. Step on the bag and complete the double play.
I think it's safe to say at this point that Miguel Cabrera is a future Hall of Famer. Look at what he has done in his career, and my goodness.
You know, Mike Trout gets so much, press now, but I'll tell you what, this guy has been outstanding in his career.
When Trout can do it for 10 years like Cabrera has, it's so now Cabrera facing Graham, runner at third and 2 down. Nice backhanded Good save by Suzuki. That ball was nowhere near the target. Suzuki twice in this inning has saved, at least twice, saved Graham. Blocked a pitch earlier that kept the double play in order.
See the breaking ball where it ended up, and a great defensive play by Kurt Suzuki.
Popped up.
Stay in here.
Mauer near the dugout. On the warning track.
Right.
Graham, as he did in spring training so well, pitches out of trouble in the 7th. Start here. Michael Masahiro Tanaka really struggling. We saw him
in spring training.
Yeah, well, just last week, I guess, when we did
a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Here's Trevor Plouffe to lead off the 8th against David Price. I got the Yankees finishing 4th in that division.
I know. I was just going to say they have some pitching problems there.
Plouffe with a fly ball to right on the first pitch. And Plouffe has been retired in left, center, and now right field on the day.
This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Minnesota Twins.
This game's about 2 hours and 4 minutes.
I was going to ask you, how do you like the pace of the game?
This pace of play initiative is awesome.
Well,
working really well.
Can we just bring Price and Hughes with us for the other 161 games? No, I think it's great what baseball's trying to do. And, you know, Joe West, an umpire that I remember early in spring training, he was, when they first put in the rule, he was kind of giving both managers heck because they were not staying up to par as far as, you know, staying in the batter's box. And it's up to the home plate umpire and the umpire crew to really keep the game flow.
Tigers have Michigan native J.K. Simmons, who won an Oscar for his performance in the movie Whiplash, and one of his repetitive lines is, "Are you dragging? Are you dragging?" And they need to get that character to watch over the game of baseball and constantly, you know, ask, is the game dragging? Garcia swings and misses. He's a strikeout victim. And a week ago, I had a chance to talk with the baseball commissioner, Rob Manfred, about that issue.
I'm not really focused on the average game time. I do think it'd be nice to get back to a number that starts with 2, but I'm really not thinking about the average game time. What I'd like to have is, by the end of the season, I'd like to have people writing and saying, you know, baseball was responsive to the fans on this issue. They made some changes, and the games just seem a little crisper.
Yeah, I agree full-heartedly right there. It's not, you know, you're going to have your games that are 3-some hours, but it's the flow that keeps going. As long as the batter's in the batter's box, pitcher's ready to pitch, the fans feel like they're in the ballgame a lot more than somebody walking around the mound or the hitter stepping out of the box every time a pitch is thrown and takes 20 seconds to get back in.
1 strike to Suzuki.
You agree with that?
Yes. Here's a fly ball to center. 1, 2, 3 innings go a long way toward picking up the pace of play, and Price has another one here in the 8th. Home runs in the 2nd inning. A 1-out triple leading to another run in the 6th. And J.R. Graham will get his 2nd inning of work here. He'll face the middle of the Tiger lineup. Martinez, and Cespedes.
Let's see if Graham maybe had a chance to sit and take a deep breath.
Well, he got through the 1st inning, gave up a
yes, he did.
Base hit and a walk to the first 2 batters, but up and away, ball 1. Regarding the pace of play, Paul Molitor in spring training doing his part, I think, with his pitching substitutions, and this isn't the best example perhaps, but he's sending Graham out there up and away 2-0 for a 2nd inning of work. Managers handle things like this in different ways, but what we saw from Paul was a relief pitcher finishing an inning and then being asked to go out there and get another out or 2 or maybe even 3. A half swing and a strike. The idea being it's a good thing the fewer pitchers you use, and that in and of itself should speed up the game a little bit.
Yeah, one thing, talking to Neil Allen, that's exactly what he wanted all the relievers to do, and that includes Glenn Perkins. So it was, you know, in the past it was Perk would have the 9th. Don't be surprised if he comes in the 8th asking to get 4 or 5 outs.
4 hopper up the middle, and Martinez gingerly trots to first, a leadoff single. If you just joined us, here's what has happened on opening day 2015.
Well, I expected a pitcher's duel, but in the 2nd inning, it was J.D. Martinez that gave the Tigers an early 1-0 lead with a home run. But 4 batters later, it was Avila with a big 2-run home run, made it 3-0. Storyline has been that man right there, David Price. 8 outstanding innings, only 85 pitches thrown in the 8 shutout innings.
Martinez with the home run in the second, since then a strikeout and a fly to right. Big swing and a miss.
You just look at their lineup. It's a lineup to contend with throughout the season. They have a good hitting lineup.
Well, I think they've had the luxury of building a lineup beyond the regular season for the postseason. You know, they've been clearly, there's a high fly to center, playable for Schafer, who comes running in now. 1 down. They've been the favorite, with the exception, I guess, of this year. A lot of people, for some reason, most people picking the Indians to win this division. But Saturday, MLB returns to Fox Sports 1 with a doubleheader. The Red Sox taking on the Yankees in the Bronx, followed by a playoff rematch with the Royals taking on the Angels. Coverage begins Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Central on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. More and more people, it seems, predicting the Indians will beat the Tigers in the American League Central. So maybe that's not as true this year as in others, but the Tigers have been the odds-on favorite to win this division the last 4 years.
Yeah, the White Sox have improved, but then you have to look at Kansas City too. What they went through last year, you know, that's a pretty good stepping stone, even though they lost in the World Series. A lot of those guys got that experience. They got that hunger of hopefully winning the World Series. It should be an exciting summer.
1 strike to Cespedes, who's got a double and a triple and a couple of runs scored. 0-2. You know, this dynasty that the Tigers have had, at least within the American League Central, hasn't been perpetuated with the same cast of characters. They've regularly brought in new guys. Like, here's Cespedes. This is his first game in a Tiger uniform. Flip to right. Hunter coming in. Hunter was here for 2 years. They've turned over the roster on a regular basis and yet stayed on top of the division. You can follow the Twins all season 2015 with MLB.com. At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat, up to the moment, at any moment, with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or tablet. Here's Castellanos. A little over 45,000 the paid attendance here today. And over for strike 1.
There's a better breaking ball right there by Graham in the first inning, just trying to overthrow it. Good strike 1 type breaking ball.
Joe Nathan warming up. It'll be interesting to see how Brad Ausmus plays this out here, because, you know, here's J.R. Graham in a non-pressure situation in his major league debut, and yet that might be exactly what the Tigers are looking for veteran Joe Nathan, a non-pressure situation to get his second Tiger season started. Nathan booed here today during player introductions, booed a couple of times in spring training.
I'd be very surprised if David Price does not go out to try to get this shutout.
But
here.
You have been surprised before.
Well, only 85 pitches. We will find out.
Couple of scoreless innings in Graham's major league debut. Here's how dominant David Price has been today. Twins are leading off the 9th inning. They haven't completed the batting order 3 times. And the number 9 batter was Jordan Schafer. He has one of the 3 Twins hits, and he will be pinch hit for.
He's only had 1 3-ball count, and that came 2 innings ago. The 3-2 pitch to Torii Hunter. That's been it.
Eduardo Escobar will hit in Schafer's spot. Escobar had a great spring. Among the Grapefruit League leaders in runs batted in. Had a great year in 2014. Look at those numbers. And he takes a strike 1-1. It'll be Escobar, Santana, and Dozier, and the Twins would love to get some guys on base, maybe get Price out of the game and take their chances with the middle of their lineup against the Tiger bullpen. Fouled back, and it's 1-2. Romine in at third base for Castellanos. Twins with a 4-man bench because they're carrying a 12-man pitching staff. Inside, and Price, who's had success with that pitch against right-handed batters, getting a couple of third strikes, just missed it there.
Now 5 strikeouts for David Price so far in the ball game.
3 of them called third strikes. 2-2, and a foul ball. Twins starting the season with bench players Escobar, Chris Herman on the opening day roster for the first time, Eduardo Nunez, and Shane Robinson. Although Robinson, unfortunately, was not introduced here at Comerica Park. They had the pregame introductions, and Robinson's name was skipped for some reason. 2-2 to Eduardo Escobar. Backhanded by Iglesias, plants and throws, and Cabrera digs out a 1-hop throw.
Well, you saw a little bit of that defense. We saw a double play turned earlier in the ball game by Iglesias. Very quick hands. He has to go to deep short right there and try to get something on this throw. Escobar hustling down that line makes it a close play. But Cabrera, watch the pick right there. Picks it, and for the first out. So David Price, Twins have hit some balls sharply, but David Price has had outstanding defense behind him.
Santana has lined out twice in the ball game, lining out to Castellanos in the first, and then to a Kinsler in the fourth. And his most important at bat, though, came in the 6th. Suzuki and Schafer were aboard with singles, nobody out. And Price struck out Santana on 3 pitches, then got Dozier to wrap into an inning-ending double play. And now Santana back up there with an 0-2 count.
Well, Price, as we showed you on screen, only 2 career shutouts. His last shutout coming when he was part of the Rays in 2012. Only 11 complete games in 181 major league starts. Well, he's trying to set the tone for his starting staff here this afternoon by taking a shutout with 1 out here in the 9th.
The guy who has been Detroit's opening day starter, Justin Verlander, has just 6 shutouts in his major league career. So what we are perhaps witnessing here today is pretty rare these days. 2 strikes. Santana rolls at foul.
Yeah, complete games and shutouts, kind of a thing of the past. You know, we've seen a lot of ball games, and you know, even some of the Twins pitchers will take 8 shutout innings, but because of that pitch count, they won't go out for the 9th. But David Price is. Last season, 34 starts, averaged almost 110 pitches per start, and right now at 95.
And a drive to center. Santana,
Death Valley out there.
Retired by Davis, 2 down. And that'll bring up Dozier. Time now for What's Next, brought to you by CenturyLink. It'll be a trimmer Ricky Nolasco pitching on Wednesday against Anibal Sanchez.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see Nolasco compete this year. I think last year was a bad year against Sanchez, who had some injuries last year, but always tough on Twins.
Dozier 0 for 3, couple of foul outs and a ground ball double play. Twins' first 4 hitters are hitless in 13 at bats. And the fly ball that Santana just hit to center field, just the second ball that those first 4 hitters have gotten out of the infield.
Yeah, Twins have only had 1 runner at second base.
And Dozier takes a strike, 1-1. For his price, or for his part, Price says he'd love to re-sign here with Detroit.
For the right price.
For the right price. And that price probably going to go up after today.
1 game.
And Dozier drives one toward left center field, down for a hit.
Not yet.
And it's a 2-out single, and that'll get Mauer to the plate.
Now, 4th hit for the Twins. Again, all of them singles here this afternoon.
Oh, boy. You're not going to like this. Brad Ausmus is coming to the mound, and the fans here, over 45,000 of them, they don't care for it, but no signal has been given yet.
Well, if you're David Price, you're screaming at Brad Ausmus right here. I'm okay, I'm okay. If that's what he, maybe just, you see Price shaking his head. I don't think he came out to make a.
No.
There, Ausmus just wanted a nice ovation from 45,000 fans.
Just checking. He'll pitch to Mauer, and if Mauer extends the game, there might be a second trip to the mound. Couple of grounders to second and a strikeout against David Price. On the outside corner.
Fastball clock here at 92. 100 pitches for Price. 74 have been strikes. That's pounding the strike zone.
Up the middle. And Mauer will get a hit, and we'll see whether there's a move from the Tiger dugout with Torii Hunter due up and a pair of 2-out hits prolonging matters here at Comerica Park. And that'll do it. It is a save situation for whoever will come out of the Tiger bullpen, and very likely it will be Joe Nathan.
Well, what a great pitching performance by David Price, making his 4th opening day start, and this one was outstanding.
every baseball hit at it. We've seen this before.
Oh, what a catch!
11 seasons as the pulse of the Minnesota Twins. 4 of those saw playoff baseball. The organization was rebuilding when he arrived in 1997. Him as a cornerstone to it.
He didn't catch that, did he? He sure did!
He transformed it.
And a grand slam for Torii Hunter!
Toughened it.
Oh my goodness! Hurt gets flattened!
Turned it from a nothing to a something.
The Minnesota Twins, for the 3rd consecutive year, are the division champions in the Central.
He doesn't run from his past. He runs with it. It defines it. Tough, hard, determined, focused. Torii Hunter. It's the story of what makes a man.
And Hunter's in the box against a former teammate, both with the Twins and with the Tigers, Joe Nathan. Breaking ball, a swing and a miss. Hunter had a good year with the Tigers last year. Nathan did not in his first year. He had a poor spring training. And to make matters worse, he has strained relationships with the fans here in Detroit. Yeah. They booed him roundly and soundly when he came into the ballgame here today.
Hot and cold.
1 strike to Hunter. Fouled. 2 strikes. Nathan last year with a high number of walks, high number of hits, an ERA of just under 5.
Yeah, still 35 saves for Nathan. All-time Twin save leader with 260. 376 career saves. Now at 40 years old, facing Torii Hunter at 39 years old.
2 strikes to Hunter. The Twins down to their last strike on opening day. Swing 1 and 2. The key for Hunter to keep this game alive and get Vargas and his power to the plate as the tying run.
Nathan shaking off some signs. Torii Hunter stepping out. Nathan has still all 4 pitches: fastball, curveball, slider, and occasional changeup. I think he's relied on the curveball more than he has his fastball over the last couple years.
The fastball has lost about 4 miles per hour from his heyday with the Twins. And check swing, strike 3. And Hunter will have words with Joe West. A check swing called by the home plate umpire, not the first base umpire. And Torii very upset. Nathan gets his save.
Yeah, Torii, I think, just wanted help. Go ask, Derwin Danley at first base. Don't call it yourself. It's a slider right here, a hard slider. Torii tried to hold up.
Oh, he did not
he
go.
did hold up.
That's a terrible way for the ball game to end, especially when umpires are more often than not going to ask for help, and that's what Torii was upset about there.
Wow.
Tom Hanneman, Paul Molitor's debut as manager ends up in a loss, and the Twins were pretty much stymied by one of the best in the business, David Price.